I did it again, Mark. That was the second time that I literally had the mics muted and I started the intro
I
and they were muted.
I it I thought this was a professional podcast, but
It just seems to go right in line with how things have gone with the Seahawks this year. But let's try this again. Welcome to the Teacher Dudes post game show as the Seahawks lose to the Washington football team 15-17 in an utmost frustrating game that I have seen. But then again, this whole season's been frustrating, but the end of that game even more frustrating than anything I've seen.
it yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's just we've had several games like this year where we've just fallen short, in the final minutes or whatever. Uh, we've had a few where we've gotten blown out, but we've a lot of our losses have come within, a touchdown or so in the final minute, and we just can't pull it out.
Right. Well, and the worst part about this game is how close we should have been multiple times, especially right at the end. And I'm just going to show you how close this game was, because this was something else here. And the first thing, was this a touchdown or not? Now I'm talking about the Washington football team, which still confuses me. I still see the acronym of WFT, and I'm thinking WTF every time I see it, to be honest with you. But was this a touchdown or not? So let's look at it, and then I need some analysis from you.
To the right of Heineke. Fake it to Patterson. Heineke wants to throw. This is 4th and goal, and it is caught. And the signal is touchdown.
Now looking at that was the best angle that I could find. But as Sue Laws chimes in saying, ouch, thanks, Sue. but Mark, your thoughts on that non-call of a touchdown as it was overturned on there?
I think they made the correct call. The ball did bobble. I don't think he got his hand under it completely. If his hand was more under it and you didn't see it kind of, bounce up a little bit, I think it would have been, they would have kept it. But the fact is, his hand was more to the side and it hit the ground and it popped up.
Yeah, no, I agree there. And Cody's chiming in here saying this is the 2008 Seahawks. We're in a restart of what we experienced 13 years ago. And then they went on to say, they're such an unorganized team. Let's get past this season and try to start fresh next year. And, coming into this game, I would not agree with that sentiment at all, because literally if we had won, we're one game out of the wild card spot, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah,
but now
I don't think
agree.
This team, it's not good.
There's
major holes. We can't run the ball, obviously, and Russell Wilson just doesn't seem okay. I mean,
right.
Again, he's a couple balls he's overthrowing so much. He's missing wide open guys. He's forcing the ball sometimes.
Well, not just missing wide open guys. I mean, let me see if I can get this picture here, because it was on one of those third downs that we just he completely missed like nothing else on this, and who was it? Lockett was absolutely wide open, and it's not going to actually let me share it because I have to restart the Chrome to get this done. Oh no, it will let me do it. There we go. This is not an amateur show here we got going on. Okay, it's kind of, yeah, I'm not seeing it either. It's not showing up. But it's one of those things where Lockett was absolutely wide open, and Wilson just tried to force it in to the sideline to DK. And, as much as I'd want to see DK catch this and do something great with it, it just wasn't there.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of ridiculous. I could already tell, when that last, the drive before it, when DK, you could see he was frustrated. I just knew the next drive Wilson was going to try to force some things. And sure enough, like the first or the second play into that drive, he throws it, tries to force it into DK on the sideline. Oh, there he is.
And here's that picture. Look, right in the middle of the Washington, I'm still going to call them the Redskins. I know I'm going to do it. But right in the middle of the logo, you got Lockett wide open. There is nobody within 10 yards of him, and he goes to the sideline.
Yeah, it's just Wilson trying to hit the home run ball, which, he can do that, but sometimes, you got to play a little like Heineke did today, and Heineke didn't really have anything over 20, throw anything really over 20 yards the whole game. Everything was, how many times did he throw it to his running backs today? How many times did he do a little check down? I mean, he moved the ball up and down the field just because he was taking what was there. And Wilson was not. He was trying to do the home run ball, and the only time he did, anything that was remotely, less than that, it was predictable bootleg out after a play action. I could almost call the plays, I think, today, because it was, okay, we try to run it on first down and we got 1 or 2 yards. Second down is we are going to do a play action off of that, because I'm sure they're going to respect a 1 or 2 yard run.
Right.
We'll do a play action off of that, get Wilson off to the side, and he's going to throw underneath to his tight end or whoever it was for a 1 or 2 yard reception. And it's like, come on. This is getting too predictable. Play action is only going to work if you can actually run the ball. And they didn't think you could run the ball. And so, clearly that wasn't going to help. And I don't mind you getting outside with Wilson. I don't mind that so much, but I think you needed to get him outside either in a run, or you needed to do something different. Where did we ever try to attempt to kind of stretch the field with our wide receivers? You bring in Walden, and he's supposed to be bringing in this Rams offense. I never saw one, jet sweep. I never saw anything that is going to try to use our speed along the outside. Everything was trying to force it down the field, taking our wide receivers out along the sides and trying to get them deep.
Right.
I think even the announcers called it correctly, like, with, for example, DK. Why don't we try to put him into the slot sometimes? They're obviously doubling him every single time. They're playing too high, and they're leaving the center of the field wide open. And, of course, they know Russell Wilson can't do anything with that.
Well, exactly. And the crazy thing to think about, and Cody said this, and that's why I wanted to leave this up here, and he's saying, do we deserve it, meaning the playoffs, I assume. But we were 12-4 last year. And I was sitting there like, no, that can't be right. And I had to go in and actually I fact checked that. And yeah, we were 12-4 last year. And now we are 3-8. You know, an absolute, just an utter dumpster fire of a team. And some of these things is leading to this question here, which I was kind of alluding to, is will Wilson leave? And I think that's, you know, we've talked about that before, and I want to come back to that, you know, here in a second. But I'm going to show you something here, Mark. This is the Wilson, the touchdown right in. If I set this up right at the end, this is the touchdown throw that he had.
They snap it. 20 seconds left. Wilson throwing. Got a man wide open. It's Freddie Swain.
So he has Freddie Swain wide open there. Hits it, touchdown. Things are going well. The next play, we're having to go for 2. And we miss it. We get that the interception. 2 things happen in this play. One, on the outside to the left, you know, I thought our receiver was knocked down and whatnot, which is fine. But the point that I'm going to get at here, as I just saw a tweet here, this is the first time in Russell Wilson's career that he's had 4 straight losses. But look at this. It shows DK was wide open in the end zone. Just take a look here.
Reading the eyes of Russell Wilson. Wilson thought he had it. He never saw Fuller.
Right on the right of the screen. I'm going to play it again. Just you can barely see it, but DK is holding his arms out like saying, "Hey, look at me." It's up top right in the back of the end zone here.
Reading the eyes of Russell Wilson. Wilson thought he had it.
So Wilson throws it into triple, if not perhaps quadruple coverage, where DK was open in the back of the end zone.
Well, to be fair, if Everett was open earlier, he just waited a little too long, and then then the guy who was trailing decided to turn back and cover. You know, it was a smart play by him to come turn around, but Everett, there was an opening there. There was 2 guys open. I mean, the scheme was fine. There was people that were open. Wilson had his opportunity. He didn't react fast enough to put it in where it needed to be. I mean, he did that in the first half with the first score. He just didn't do it this time. And so, you know, I don't mind the play call. I thought, there was a lot of chances there. We just didn't execute it, and they made a good play defensively.
Yeah, and you know, which that led to the onside kick that we did recover, but the crazy rule for the lineup, and we don't get it in the end of the game. But all that said, you know, the Seahawks did lose 15-17 in Washington. And if you are tuning in right now to the Teacher Dudes post-game show, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Leads us to this question here from Sue Laws. And, you know, we've talked about this before. Will Wilson leave Seattle after this year? And you've alluded to two different things here, Mark, is, you know, one thought is Wilson will absolutely leave. He's done. He's going to, you know, look elsewhere. But then there's the other side of it of, is Pete Carroll done? And if Carroll's done, does that mean that that Wilson will stay in Seattle? My thought, you know, really quick is Wilson is way too invested in Seattle, literally and figuratively. He's got money in the Sounders, money all over the town. So why would he want to leave? But then you look at what happened after the last game from the Seahawks, and in that press conference when Pete Carroll said, "I'm done," and walked out. He's never done that in Seattle. So it's kind of, you know, amounting to his frustration coming in. And then this thought here from Cody saying, I don't believe so. I wonder if legends such as Bobby Wagner will get fed up and part ways. I believe Wilson has blue and green going through his heart. And, I agree with that too. Has Wagner lost a step, which will lead him to head out, kind of like KJ Wright did, although we really could have used KJ Wright tonight. But the Seahawks decided not to re-sign him. So just kind of curious your thoughts on that. And if you are watching live, be sure to comment in like Cody's doing, because we're loving getting your guys' feedback on this as well.
I think Pete Carroll is gone after this season. I think he's going to pull a USC and realize that this is a sinking ship, and he doesn't want to do a part. At his age, he doesn't.
Does he go somewhere else, or does he retire?
No. I don't know. I think he probably retires, but I think he's definitely gone. Wilson might look at this as a sinking ship too and say, you know what? The talent isn't there. I don't. They supposedly invested some money into the offensive line, and
we haven't seen that.
Played poorly again.
Right.
And so it's like, why, if he's big into his legacy, is he going to look at Seattle and just say, hey, I can win with this team? Or is he going to go and he's going to look at another team out there that has a solid defense, up-and-coming team, that is just a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. And he might choose to go that route and say, you know what, I'm going to force my hand out. I don't know. I just don't see both of them being back here next year. I definitely don't see Pete, and I'm starting to feel like Wilson wants out as well.
Yeah. Well, in the press conference, I'm just seeing the quotes coming through right now. Pete Carroll just said, the results just aren't coming. I'm not accepting it. I'm not taking the sideways step, just going to keep stepping forward, battle our way through it. Which, is coach speak to basically say, I don't know what the heck is going on.
He doesn't have answers. He doesn't know how to fix the offense. And the reality is he's not an offensive coach,
Right.
And so he can't really help in that area too much. And then, he should be able to help defensively, but,
Well, and that's the other thing is what is going on with this defense? I mean, they are an absolute shell of their former self. They're not getting any of the stops on third down at all. They can't get off the field. The biggest play of the night was literally a D lineman returning a PAT for a 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
Did we even sack Heineke once?
Yeah, we got one sack on Taylor, got him. In the first half, we actually had pretty good pressure on Heineke. Our ends were really getting a pretty good pressure on the end. We just weren't getting, that final hit where we weren't getting a much pressure up the middle. And defensively, we did not do well on stopping the run on the outside. On the short yardage stuff, we did pretty well. But that kind of that outside, I don't know if you call it zone blocking or whatever they have it, but we did not do a good job dealing with the speed of Gibson.
Right.
And I think there has to be changes. I think defensively, Norton has to be gone. Well, if Carroll's gone, Norton's gone. If Carroll stays, then Norton still needs to be gone.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we played a lot of soft zone, and they were just picking that zone apart. They were just throwing underneath, and in the past, when you used to have guys like Bobby Wagner in his prime and KJ Wright, they were amazing at that zone and stopping those short passes.
Right.
But Wright's moved on, and Wagner's lost a step. He's
Oh,
not as
clearly.
fast. He's not as fast as he used to be, and he can still tackle. Once he gets his hands on you, he can still read a defense or read a offense. His instincts are still there, but he just doesn't have the speed, especially when it comes into playing coverage. And so they're just playing. Just we're seeing this pretty much all the time. We're not getting beat deep.
No.
We're just
They're getting nickeled and dimed all the way down the field, and what we're seeing is the result of that. And Pete Carroll just said the third downs, mentioning what we were saying, the third downs just don't let us go, and it's just such an obvious issue for us that we're not converting. We didn't run the ball well at all tonight. Well, no crap. But there's so few plays that every single play counts so much, and we're just not getting it going. Again, it goes back to what we were saying. He has no answers at all. And,
I think
what you're
he's
saying about Dink.
stuck in his ways, and he's kind of too loyal to a point. For example, Wagner
Right.
takes pride in playing 100% of the downs. Well, you know what? Where are we getting beat? We're being beat on those third and short, passing. At that point, let's take Wagner off. I know they took Brooks off,
Right.
but let's take Wagner off and play more dime packages and stuff like that, and just really clog up that middle. Get some guys with speed, but he's too faithful to Wagner, and I love Wagner, but he's definitely a liability now in the past.
Oh yeah. Well, and Cody brings up this point saying, a little bit ago about making a good point about needing to adjust our team in the offensive defensive coaching, but is a player that's corrupting the team like Percy Harvin started to in the Super Bowl year. And, on that front, I don't think it's as toxic as Percy Harvin was starting to get, but it goes to what you're saying about Wagner wanting to be in every down. At some point is that going to start to wear on the other players when they see what's going on with their eyes, not so much in their heart? And then, the other thing that he was saying before I want to get to another point here is we're not getting absolutely destroyed, talking about the deep ball kind of a thing. Green Bay was an exception, but we're still putting up a fight. We just can't capitalize it in the end, which is true. And, the last point or the other point that I wanted to make on the defense is this right here. And you know where I'm going with this, Mark, because it's the go-to, but it's true. Time of possession, 41 minutes. The Washington football team had the ball 41 minutes to 18 of the Seahawks. And in that time, the number of plays, the Washington football team ran 79 plays compared to 45. What do you expect this defense to do when they're on the field literally 4/6 of the game?
Yeah, I can, the last game against, I think it was Arizona, right? Is that our last?
Mm-hmm.
I can see the defense was just gassed at the end. This game,
Yeah.
I didn't really see them being gassed too much towards the end.
No, not so
I
much.
thought they played pretty well even to the end. I think they did a nice job at rotating their defensive linemen in and out to try to keep them as fresh as possible. But yeah, it's still like it's hard to win a game when you can't sustain a drive. It's hard to win, off so much of Seattle's and this is just typical of Russell Wilson in the offense over the past years is he's a very much, kind of a rhythm type of player. But if he, if he can, sometimes when he goes up tempo, that's when he's at his best. Well, the problem with that is now we're, using very little time, and if he happens not to convert on third down, which just seems to be the problem this year,
Right.
you're basically, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a time of possession where we suck at, especially if we can't convert on a third down, and so yeah, I don't know.
Well, and I was just looking back at the stats on the Arizona game, and in the Arizona game, they had the ball 40 minutes and 22 seconds compared to 1938. So we held the ball for an extra minute compared to last week. That's we can, say it however we want, but that is just simply not gonna cut it. And against Green Bay, we had the ball for 20 minutes. In, the bye week, I'm sure, even though it was a bye week, we probably held the ball for about, 10 seconds. And against Jacksonville, we won, but we still held the ball less than 30 minutes. So, there's a lot of things going on in Seattle, and in the remaining games that we have this year. Next week, we have the 49ers at home. I can see that being a toss-up. But my heart is telling me we're going to lose again. Let's be honest. I really think we're going to lose. I do think that we will win in Houston against the Texans. And then we go to LA. We're going to lose. I mean, I honestly, I don't see us going to LA and winning. Then we have two interesting games that I do think we should be able to win. The Bears and then the Lions in another Sula shout out of the week. So I see us winning there, but we're not going to go down to Arizona and win unless the Cardinals have no reason to play and it does them no good. So we're looking at, I can't do that kind of math in my head, but maybe an 8-9 season at best. If we lose one game from here on out, which I said we'd lose two of those. So we're looking at a 7-10 year at best, maybe.
Yeah, I don't see. Here's my problem: is you got all these other teams that are technically ahead of you, and yes, you may only be one game out or two games out of the playoffs, but I don't look at our team as of all these other 4-win, 5-win teams. I don't see us much better or even better than these guys, So I don't see us going out, and running the table here. I just don't see it. I think we got too many holes. We can't run the ball. We don't have any, our line isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Are they doing anything?
Very little. Yeah. And so I think you gotta move on this off season and make some big changes. And the more we sit there and we try to once the Legion of Boom was gone, we try to rebuild up that defense. It obviously didn't work. We obviously did not draft well enough. And we've had a couple of decent players, but we've never had we never could get our superstars back. And that's where it is. Who's the last superstar on defense we've been able to draft?
I mean, I'd say Shaquille Griffin, but he's not on the team anymore.
He's not even a superstar. He was a good
Closest thing we've
player.
had.
He was a good player, but he was not great.
Right. And, I'm looking here, Pete Carroll saying Russell Wilson made himself very accountable to his teammates in a very quiet locker room after the loss. So, read into that what we may, and probably need to, actually hear him say that. But this last question here, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on this, and it comes from Cody again. And Cody, thanks for joining us. It's nice to have your thoughts in here. But at what point are the players' spirits broken? I understand earning their paycheck, but if they don't see a ring at the end of the season, is it worth it to them? My initial thought is yes, it's worth it to them, especially for those players that are playing in a contract year. As much as I hate to say that the NFL is about money, it is. But so for those players, it's worth it. But I do think when it comes to the team and playing for the team, I think you're absolutely right. We're at that point with 8 losses that, unless we literally ran the table and went 9-8 the rest of the way, I don't think we're going to, the players are going to, truly play for it, but they're going to go out there and fight. I don't see it with the Seahawks not fighting. I don't know. I think it's worth it to them in those standpoints, but I do think you're right. Is it worth it, Mark? What are your thoughts?
I think the fact that the NFL doesn't have the guaranteed contracts.
That's probably good.
Every player's gonna work their tail off as much as they possibly can, because this is not a league that, there's so many players who are out of it fairly quickly. But I think the challenge it becomes is when are the players going to play for each other versus play for themselves, and that's where you might start to see some bickering and some fighting and some stuff like that. When you start to lose, everybody then is just out to get theirs.
Right.
And they'll play hard to get what they want. But I think they'll lose, a lot of that team chemistry.
Yeah, and that team chemistry is a lot of what happens in the NFL. And, I've heard Colin Cowherd say this multiple times when you talk about the could a team like Alabama beat the Detroit Lions? And on one hand, I want to say, absolutely, they destroy them. But he comes out, he's not shy about it. He goes, absolutely not. The Lions, as bad as they are still leaps and bounds better than the best college team. Could the best college team beat them 1-10? Maybe. But the amount of talent that is on those teams is insane compared to the one college team.
Yeah, I think the only way a college team can ever beat an NFL team is if the college team has this amazing quarterback. And the NFL team has an awful quarterback, and the college team has an amazing defensive line.
Right. Well, and it'd be like the 2007 Fiesta Bowl, where Boise State beat Oklahoma, where it takes those trick plays and a miracle to pull it off. I'm sure I'm going to upset my Boise State fans on that, but it was a miracle game. And at that point, they're playing for the team, they're playing for each other, they're not playing for themselves. And I think we're seeing that all around in the Seahawks right now. I mean, luckily, which is actually very surprising to me, we didn't see DK get into some verbal spats with some of the football team players.
He was under control today.
Right,
he was frustrated, and he only, but he was under control, which is good. I don't know. I mean, to me, he's a guy who's passionate about winning, but I think he's also passionate about getting the ball.
Right.
And
Which is okay.
yeah. So I don't know. I I do worry that he could be a problem in the future if we have to rebuild, and let's say we lose a Russell Wilson or whatever, and we got to start over with a quarterback that may not be the best, or has some growing pains. And I don't know how well he's going to respond on a team that is kind of rebuilding, especially since he's going to be getting a paycheck in a couple years. He might be thinking, you know what? I think I might try go somewhere else.
Well, and do you see DK, just as you're saying that, I just had this random thought, as more of a Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, where it just kind of way goes off the deep end, had all the talent in the world, but went off the deep end in how he actually played. And because of that, or more of a Randy Moss or even Terrell Owens, to be honest, who would do those things, have those antics, but could actually back it up on the field.
I still think DK's pretty young, and he still has a lot more maturing. And I think he still he has a nasty side to him and an attitude side to him, which, he reminds me a lot of Steve Smith in that way,
Yeah.
Although Steve Smith was never obviously as big as DK.
Right.
But I don't know. I just see a guy who can be taken out of a game by being frustrated.
Yeah. No, I could see that.
And if he can't get his emotions under control or have patience, sometimes he might, it could create something in the future.
Yeah.
And I know if Seattle decides that they're just going to tear this down and rebuild, I would not be surprised if you
would you let him go
to trade DK.
Yeah,
because you could get at least probably 2 first-round picks for him.
Especially the right team.
A team in desperate need of a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I love what he brings. I love his physicality, but I also know that Tom Brady has won Super Bowls with less.
Very, very true.
And wide receiver is kind of like a running back in a way that, sometimes it is a good quarterback can cover up for not. I mean, Wilson never really had the best receivers.
Right.
He had Curse, who was average, decent, and he had Baldwin, who was decent. I mean, he was good route runner and stuff, but he didn't have all the physical traits, that DK has. DK has the physical traits that everybody loves, but I'd rather take a Lockett who's extremely good at route running and just knows how to get open.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know. Just a thought. I mean, it's kind of not part of this conversation, but it is something that we might have to look at in the future if things don't quite go like we think they're going to go.
Yeah. No, I agree. And, we have another Zillite, I guess we could say, Larry Frederick joining us saying go Niners, of course. But, he's late to the game here. And as we wrap this up, we have, the Seahawks against the Niners next week. And Larry, we've talked about keeping Russell or Pete multiple times at length. I think if you were to ask me what I would prefer, I would prefer us to keep Russell and bring in a new youthful coach and build around that. Mark, what if you had your choice, are you keeping Russell or Pete?
I am probably keeping Russell. Well, yeah, I would keep Russell over Pete. I think Pete's kind of lost his way, and he's stuck in his old ways. And the only reason I would keep Russell this offseason is because I don't think there's a quarterback in this next draft that is any decent, that you feel confident that they
Right.
could be, something special. And so I wouldn't, if I would get rid of Russell, if we could get the number 1 overall pick and we have a Joe Burrow or someone sitting there, okay, let's see what.
Here's a random thought as you're saying that. Trade Russell Wilson to the Lions for Jared Goff and the number 1 pick.
But who are you going to take? What quarterback is out there that you would take? You're not going to win with Goff.
We take that and then we trade it for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Hey, I was just throwing it out there.
Just throwing off a random.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
but
I don't see it.
Yeah, no, I don't see any of that happening. Really,
the only halfway intriguing scenario to me right now is
Tim
to trade. No, is to trade with Philly and take Jalen Hurts.
Ooh, I would take Jalen Hurts
And their 3 first-round picks, because they have 3 of them this next draft.
Oh man, give up Wilson for 3 first-round picks and Jalen Hurts. I think
somewhat intriguing to me.
I think that's about all we could do to do it. Yeah, that is interesting. That is a good thought. But Mark, I am going to ponder that thought this week as we recover from another frustrating game, losing again 15-17 to the Washington football team. But Mark, it has been fun as always. I have definitely appreciated the comments and whatnot that we've gotten. So thank you all that have tuned in. And we will be back, barring any craziness that is going on with our own lives. With Mark having three girls plus your 2 dogs and a wife. 3 dogs.
Yeah.
You got life there
right now.
Well, and then we got 2 dogs and Zane, which good grief, that kid's enough right there. But we got lives outside of this. Although this is fun, definitely need to do it more often. But once the season ends, we won't talk to each other till August. But never. But anyway, definitely appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will see you on Sunday.